talk about The Art of War, and I'm not talking about the book, The Art of War. I'm talking about the art of war that's been played against us, and the art of war that we may be forced into playing ourselves. For centuries, the ruling classes around the world have pit alpha male against alpha male. Right now on the battlefield, we see in Australia and Great Britain, Romania, Lithuania, France, Germany, Canada, even to a smaller extent, New York, Portland, California. We see alphas going up against the police force, other alphas clashing head to head, while the ones that put us in that situation sit safely behind their walls and security forces, laughing their asses off, you know. They've made us watch these pictures of these, protesters upset about mandates and lockdowns and being forced from their jobs and unable to go to the grocery store, buy groceries to feed their families, unable to work and pay the bills, and they're fed up, and they don't go looking for trouble. They go outside and they gather together, and they're, good spirits and smiling and talking to each other, and then police in combat gear gather, surround them, give them ultimatums, threaten them, and then approach and start blasting them with spray and rubber bullets and beating them and smashing their face to the ground, and visually we get to see this, and as Americans we have a Second Amendment that allows us the right to bear arms, and we think, well, that'll never happen in America because we'll do something about it, over my dead body, and personally I think that's something that they would love to see happen. They would love to see Alpha destroy Alpha. You look at World War I, World War II, you look at Vietnam, you look at the thinning and the culling of the alpha male. You see the systematic wiping out of the alpha DNA from the gene pool. You see the glorification of the beta male. This skinny jean wearing, oh, you're so aggressive male. You understand that the sociopaths that rule our lives would never face us man to man, or even woman to man, for that matter, or woman to woman. They always send minions to do their bidding. And I've got to believe that maybe you would find some police that would do the sick things that we're seeing overseas to our own people. But there's a lot of police in this country and servicemen that would say hell no, and there's no way they would do the things that they're doing. And quite frankly, I think there's a lot better things that we could be spending our energy doing if we actually truly cared to win a war, such as the one that we might be fighting ourselves, already fighting, even if you don't realize you've been fighting a war possibly your whole life. I always said that, if we truly wanted to win these wars, things like, World War II or Vietnam, or let's make a hypothetical. If we wanted to fight a war with, say, an adversary such as China, you don't have to send, 100,000 troops or 500,000 troops. You don't have to launch nukes. You don't have to put submarines in the battlefield. You don't have to use stealth fighters. You don't have to use all these tools, these billion-dollar tools. You don't need things like that. You don't have to put, this 100,000 against that 20,000, and that's not necessary. You don't have to take years to accomplish these things. What you do is you find the 10 richest families in China. You put out the ultimatum that every week, starting at the bottom of that list, the 10th richest family will cease to exist. And that doesn't just mean his and hers. That means his and her mother, his and her daughter, his and her son, his and her cousin, uncle. Because these people don't think like you and I do. They don't think in terms of next week, next month, next year. They think decades and generations apart. They think about grandchildren's legacies. They think a lot further ahead than we can ever think. You know, you're talking about 70, 80, 90-year-old men still posed to take over the world that they're never going to see again. So I figure by the time you get to the 7th richest family, China would surrender. You know, you don't have to take America's alpha sons and daughters and sacrifice them to whatever gods these 6 sociopath beta elites worship. You don't have to feed the military-industrial complex and the architects that rebuild these nations such as Iraq and Afghanistan and you know, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates and all these places we go stick billions and billions of dollars into that somehow is supposed to benefit American citizens. You just take out less than 100 people and all your problems seem to go away. And if the next guy wants to mess around, you don't even have to fight him. You just say, hey, see what happened over there? We come for you too. Same thing goes in this country. You know, the problem, you know, you look at even the problem Black Lives Matter or even Antifa, you know, the closer we get, the closer we are to finding out we're not so far apart from sides. Our politics are different. We find that, you know, some of our arguments are ignorant. And a lot of the propaganda we believe in on all sides is bullshit. But at the end of the day, what we think inside our hearts, you know, isn't so far apart. You know, the people that maybe fund the movements and start the movements, the people behind the movements may have one agenda. But the bigger picture, we're not that far apart. And we're starting to find ourselves, you know, when Nicki Minaj is looking like an ally, and you've got BLM threatening de Blasio, and you're like, hey, you know, even though they're still a little wrong, they're not all wrong. And I always said it even about Colin Kaepernick, this privileged, you know, privileged American trying to act like he's not privileged. You know, instead of doing things the way he did it, you know, people would get along with him if he wanted to do things the right way instead of spitting all over his country. Because to tell you the truth, you know, there's a lot of people that don't like a lot of what these policymakers have done to all of Americans, not just minority Americans. You know, it's just a lot more obvious with the minority Americans, but all Americans suffer from the same things: the double and triple taxation, the forcing yourself to work six weeks to pay 4 weeks worth of bills. You either have to work your ass off or depend on the government just to exist. There's no in-betweens. There's you know, you either, you know, run the rat race or commit crime to go around the rat race. There's just no... The American dream's kind of disappeared due to our ruling class. So what do I mean by the art of war? You know, do we go out to the streets and sacrifice ourselves smashing alpha against alpha, I say nay, nay. You know, I look at other things. I look at what they're smashing their big money into. You know, I see things like, I mean, I might get myself in trouble by talking these things. They dump this whole bunch of money. You know, and you look at the players like Facebook and Amazon, and a lot of people think, I don't know about you, but my Facebook works even though they stole my account, censor me every time I post anything. But my Facebook works just fine. I get plenty of advertisements, and my videos work, and I can send messages, and, you know, lots of fuzzy kitty cats. Yet they're building these 450 some odd square thousand feet fortresses of AI supercomputing buildings around the country and around the world. And they're ominous, and it's not just Facebook, it's other companies too. And, you know, some of them look kind of normal, like the old supercomputing buildings. And this is where they kind of slipped up with me. You know, most people don't get to go around the country and see all of the country and see all the different things, but I kind of get the privilege of doing it. And I noticed something that stuck out like a sore thumb, and that was the fencing. It looked eerily similar to a government contracted border wall. And I thought, it's kind of funny that out of 7 of these facilities that I've seen around the country so far, and even ones I've looked up on the internet in South Carolina, they all have the exact same fencing. And then I looked into one of the companies that is doing the construction on this massive one in Altoona, Iowa. And I mean, this thing is massive. And I mean, never seen it. And they're all building them all exactly at the same time, all in a rush. And I mean, they have spared no expense. I mean, spared no expense. And I think, man, and you look into the company that's building it, and what else do they have to do with? What else is in their resume? Oh, they did something with nanotech vaccine technology at some medical research facility at some hospital. On just one floor of the hospital, that was their construction project. More government bullshit, you know. Well, what's the chances that they have to do with 2 things going on at the same time? So when you watch the movies like Terminator and stuff like that, Skynet and the AI, and you hear Elon Musk talking about our only chance is to merge with the machine, and you hear Klaus Schwab talking about the 4th Industrial Revolution, and you hear the who's who of all the leaders across the world imposing communism, talking the same catchphrases of Build Back Better, just like George Bush and the rest of the people talking about the One World Order or the New World Order, you know, back in the 80s, the 90s, and early 2000s. Now it's the Great Reset, the Global Reset, and Build Back Better. And they're talking about merging with the AI and using this nanotechnology that they just shoved inside your arm and merging that with the AI and being able to make a human being better, making a super race of human beings. Sounds a little Hitler-esque to me. And what could they possibly, why would the improvements need to be so vastly much larger that they need this much extra supercomputing space? And when I say extra, I am talking extra. I'm talking, I've seen these supercomputing places, and they're a little impressive, and you can tell there's a lot of money there. But like the one out in Wyoming that I've seen for years, the Wyoming supercomputing place out by Cheyenne, just in the Facebook alone building, you could probably fit 10 or 12 of the Wyoming supercomputing places. And there's at least 5 buildings already built. It looks like they're building 2 or 3 more. This building is so massive that they actually have their own power company and 2 power substations inside the facility, all gated off with this fancy border wall. It's It's not the 30-foot border wall that they've got down there at the border, but it is 10-foot border wall with a concrete bottom, so you can't just smash your truck through it. And I was like, this must be something worth protecting. So when I say you don't smash alpha against alpha, you know, maybe it's time we start protesting the fourth industrial revolution. Maybe it's time we start protesting Klaus Schwab and his friends. Maybe it's time we start calling them out every time they say build back better. Build back better. You plan on demolishing America first so you can build it back? Because I think not. So why you, and it's easy to get riled up. Because by God, I have sure been riled up. And I know, along with a lot of my friends, if you were in Australia or Canada or Britain and you saw, even if it was a heavily armed police, do to someone, you know, like choke that little girl out, pick her up off the ground by her throat, two-handed, put her on the ground, hell or high water, I'm gonna smash that cop. Don't be the... That's what they almost need you to do that. They don't give a shit about that cop, and they sure as shit don't care about you. And they need that narrative. And they're going to get that narrative. They already, they already passed that red flag law in Congress with the support of 135 Republicans. They act like, oh, they need this for the safety. They could just go get the guns from this crazy person. That person would have never died. Well, they've already got that law. If they feel that you're a threat to yourself or somebody else, they can take you for 24 hours for observation. If they feel that you're truly a danger, they can go before a court and have those guns removed with due process. They don't need this other excuse. That's just an excuse. And they started with the military. Like our vets haven't taken enough shit over the last 50 years, let's give them some more shit. They wrote laws in there taking weapons away from veterans that have served, making it easy to take guns away from veterans. So the narrative's already been set. The laws are being written as we speak. They need you to be that alpha male smashing the other alpha male. History wants to repeat itself over and over. They've shown us this stuff, and they have put this feeling in the pit of your stomach, and it makes you want to fight. Let's watch. Let's be smart. You know, you've watched the movie Red Dawn, and personally, you know, the one in 1984 with Patrick Swayze, it's all right. The newer one with Thor and the horse soldier from 12 Strong, I like it a little better. It shows you could be in that first wave, that first fight, and that's all fine and good. But what they did after that, they survived, they trained, they surveilled, they planned. And then whatever happens, kind of happens, you know. If you plan on rushing in the first minute in a fight, that's brave, but you ain't gonna make it. So use your head. Start thinking about, start thinking like they do. Don't think about next hour, next week, next month, next year. Start thinking about your grandchildren and your grandchildren's children. Think about the legacy of America and what it's going to be 60, 50, 100, 200 years from now. The way it's going right now, we're going to be lucky to have another year. So let's be sure that we do this and do it right. They want us to think with our emotion, but let's think with our minds. I hope this was helpful, and I hope it just doesn't sound like a bunch of nonsense, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from with it. And surely if you've got more questions on this Altoona, Iowa, Umatilla, Oregon, couple up in, I don't know, maybe that's not Washington. Most of those are in Oregon. There's another Facebook one in South Carolina been built. One in Sweden. The Amazon one's up there north Umatilla. I think there's 4 of them in Umatilla, 3 of them just to the west of there, and I'm telling you, the monster one is Altoona. And this thing is just, this has got to be the central one. I mean, this has got to be the one that's, when you learn about the way the new AI works, the way this there is no one server, there is no one box, there's no, they'll take a piece of information and break it down 1,000,000 times and put it through 1,000,000 different nodes all over the freaking country and the world. So I don't know. Well, all I know is they spent billions, and they did a lot of work making sure to protect it. So there's a reason they built it, and there's a reason that they're in a hurry to get it complete. We'll leave it with that. See ya.